Costume Collector. It is a front-end web application built with React.js as well as a third-party API built on the backend with Node.js. This is the dashboard page, which displays all of a user's costumes that can be scrolled through using this image carousel. The dashboard page is also where one can go to the change page, can delete the costume, or go to the new costume page. To take you through the user experience, let's first create a new user. We'll go to the login page. And take it to the dashboard page, which currently has no costume. Let's make a new one. All the items are available here. Give the costume a name. Add the costume, and now it's displayed on the dashboard. And if you want to change the costume, say you just don't feel like boots today, we'll change it to a cool little dinosaur claw. Edit the costume, and you can see the updated costume. Or if you decide you're not into Halloween and you want to just change the costume or get rid of the costume, then hit the delete button and voila, it's gone. So let's take a look at the code. We will start in the back end, which I built using Node.js, a framework that let me use backend code, use JavaScript to build backend code, as well as Express, Mongoose, and MongoDB. Now, the first thing I had to do was create a server, which I did by requiring and implementing Express, then creating all of the custom routes for each model to be used depending on the path name from the request coming in from the front end, and then finally telling the server to listen for those requests on a specific port. The second thing I had to do was create all of the models for the API. I did this with Mongoose, a tool that I used to communicate with MongoDB, the database. And with Mongoose, I created a new schema where I outlined all of the information specific to this particular model, which in this case is a costume. And then I used it to create the model based off of that schema. And finally, I exported the model to be used in the third step, which is here to create the controllers. First thing I had to do was require and then implement Express to create the router, and then import the costume model, which I made in step 2. And finally, I needed to outline all of the individual routes so that the API knew which information it needed to send to the front end depending on the kind of request that it did receive. Now, to take a look at the front end, this was built with React.js, a framework which allowed me to build front-end code using JavaScript, and I created components which were available to be used across multiple pages, and pages which are responsible for handling a unique user experience, like changing a costume or creating a new costume, or the dashboard page, which displayed all of the costumes or took you to the change and new page. We're looking at the change component, the change page, and in React, information, a component can take information in one of two ways. It's either handed down via props, or it can be gathered from a third party like an API. In either case, I'm going to store that information in state. So for the change page, I'm going to first create 2 instances of state, one for the specific user costume to be changed, and one for all of the items that are available to update the user costume. I will set states or load the initial state by using the useEffect hook, where I make the call to the third-party API that I built with Node, and then finally set the user costume, which was handed down via props from a parent. Now, once I have that information loaded in state, I can display the information on the screen for the user to see. The user, the user costume, which was handed out as props, is loaded here in this costume component. And then this bigger portion here has all of the items which I received from that API. All of the pages follow this similar format where I first define all of the variables that I'll need to use, including states or anything handed down via props, then all the functions that I'll want to use in this particular page. Finally, I will use the useEffect hook to load the initial state, and once state is loaded, I will go ahead and display that information on the screen. So that takes you through Creepy Costumes, a front-end web application that I built with React.js in the front end, as well as a API using Node.js that was built on the back end. Thank you.